We're live.
Yeah, there we
Oh,
go.
good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rise Up, where we talk about responsibility, integrity, service, and empathy in action. And what I like to say, learn what's going on in the world and the difference that we can make. And now I'd like to welcome up those who are in the studio today. We've got Ricky, Usaina, hello. Iris Vojtovic, hello. Naria, oh, we miss you, Naria. I know you're in Alaska right now, saving the fish and the young people. So we thank you for your service over there. We're going to have an exciting episode today. We've got some news for you and a Hyojung talk at the end. So let's get it started. Ricky, what is the story we have for our UN news?
Yes, thank you, Mohan. So for today, we're going to be talking about islands in conjunction with our theme of climate change. So recently, the United Nations have been spotlighting specifically the issues of small island developing states, SIDS. So what we're coming to terms with is SIDS and how they are being affected by climate change. And we want to talk about specifically about SIDS because they are specifically at risk, at higher risk than any other countries or groups of countries. But despite that fact, they're actually the least, or they are contributing the least to climate change. So one of the issues they're facing right now is the corrosion of coral reefs. So for a lot of island nations, coral reefs are actually the major source of not only food, because they're the biggest source of food in their diet is fish, but also it's the biggest source of, or one of the bigger sources of money because of the fishery companies that come out from these islands. So yeah, because of climate change, basically if the waters, if the oceans stay or go above 1.5 degrees Celsius in temperature, the coral reefs are able to sustain themselves and are gradually being destroyed. So yeah, what we're seeing now is a lot of the coral reefs they're being destroyed, and these island nations aren't able to manage, without those coral reefs there. But not only that, the coral reefs also serve as, in a similar way to mangroves, as a kind of a way to stop a lot of the major damage that storms like hurricanes cause. So yeah, that's basically the story. We're looking at SIDS, small island developing nations, really suffering because of climate change, and on top of that, they don't really have as big of a voice as countries like the United States and countries in Europe do in what goes on with climate change, because they're so small. Their populations are so small. So yeah, I think we should pay more attention to these nations and what they're going through and what we can do to help, because a lot of times they don't have the same power in international relations that countries like the United States and Russia and China do.
Yeah, my goodness. So SIDS, does everyone know what that stands for? Again, it's small island developing states. And like you said, they're not represented well, yet they're being completely devastated because of climate change. And
Yep.
I like the way they put it. It's like they have low emissions, but high exposure. So it's like just the unfair reality, or even though it's like we know that China and the US, we're putting up the most emissions, yet we're not facing the effects of that, and that's why the UN's role, I think, is really important here, where we need to raise awareness of this. And islands are, and it's not just the water levels, right, Ricky? Like you're saying, even just the coral reefs, and it's affecting all of their whole fishing industry, and it's just a really unfair situation. And the only way to make it fair is for us to open up our hearts, have some empathy, and understand that we need to take responsibility for this. And so we need to get serious about how we can change our practices and look at the solutions. And I think us young people can help figure this out. But, I don't know. What do you think, Iris?
Yeah, actually, I was in the Dominican Republic a couple of years ago on a class service learning trip, and this is exactly what we learned about coral reef bleaching. And I was really distraught by this topic, actually, because of exactly what you said. These islands, they're producing the least amount of emissions, yet they're just feeling the effects of all of our bad decisions. And that's, I mean, yeah, of course, that's simply just unfair, as well as the fact that they're not prepared to deal with the consequences of our actions. And so when I was there in the Dominican Republic, we met with this group called Fundamar, and they're working on developing the coral reef systems around the island to protect the island for decades to come. And they have like underwater coral reef farms, and they have a small research center where they're growing coral reefs and spawning them from the beginning stages all the way to when they bring them into the ocean to grow. So it's small projects like that that bring hope, but also there are other creatives in the world that are using their creativity to support the rebuilding of coral reefs during this time when the ocean temperatures are warming. There's this artist named Jason DeCaires Taylor that I've been observing for a while because I was inspired by Fundamar. I was trying to see who else in the world is tackling this issue. And this artist, Jason DeCaires Taylor, he builds life-size sculptures, like huge, out of some like porous cement, and drops those sculptures in the ocean around small islands so that it attracts different wildlife and corals and seaweed and things like that to grow off of these sculptures and develop new coral reef systems to protect the island, to protect all of these islands. So he calls them underwater museums. So it's not only just a great tool to start redeveloping the coral reef systems around these islands, but also a great tourist attraction that brings in money for the locals. It's not like a white savior complex or anything, but it's there to support the island nations that these sculptures are in. And so he's still doing this work. So yeah, when you say that the youth have all the solutions, I definitely believe in that, because we hold the creativity to the creative potential to take on these issues. I mean, of course, that's not to say that the large corporations behind all of the carbon emissions don't need to take responsibility for it anymore. They still must take responsibility. But in the meantime, we can still use our creativity to develop new solutions and help in whatever ways we can. So yeah, as dire as the situation is, it's definitely bringing a lot of hope and inspiration on how to tackle these different issues.
Wow, that's so cool. I didn't think about man-made coral reefs. It's a different concept for me. And I don't know, Ricky, have you seen these underwater museums or heard about it?
No, I mean, I thought it wasn't. It's not that he's making coral reefs, but he's bringing like, because it's the fish, dead fish, who create the coral reefs, right? So
Right.
he's just bringing the fish in, and they kind of create coral reefs around the structures.
Yeah, so he builds the structures and then brings them, like sinks them to the bottom of the ocean, and then yeah, it attracts all the wildlife to it because it's a structure to like hide and build homes.
Yeah.
And what's like a underwater desert, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's cool. I think it's really like innovative kind of solution to that problem. And yeah, coral reefs are so important, but like nobody knows about it. And you know, the other week I went to this botanical garden on this little trip, and they're kind of explaining, the biggest issue is just lack of education when it comes to these things. Like people just don't know what's going on. Like they don't know what they can do or what they're doing wrong that's causing these issues.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's why I love service so much, because with service, even though the project itself may not put a dent in the problem even, but what it does do, it gives anyone a chance to learn and to see, like, oh my God, like, let's say you're doing a river cleanup. You pick up a few bottles and maybe you get your hands dirty and you pull out a tire or something. But then it's like, it's only gonna keep happening. Then you start to understand kind of where these tires come from. What are the socioeconomic reasons for this and that, and then it can expand into kind of like these kind of creative solutions like you're mentioning now. So I'm hopeful for that. I was going to ask the question, what are we hopeful for? But I think this was a good example. I think, Iris, thank you for sharing.
Of course.
And thank you, Ricky. Let's move on to our hopeful articles. Go ahead and lay on some more hope.
Yeah, we can always do with a little more hope all the time. So yeah, good morning, everybody. Missed you all. Sorry for being MIA. But today I have two stories for you. One of them comes from Colorado. Now, okay, I'm personally not a driver. The last time I drove was to get my driver's license 3 years ago. There's just no need for it in Chicago, but in Colorado, it's a different story. And as you know, if you get a broken headlight or something like that and a police car sees you, you'll get ticketed for it. So that tends to put people in a bad attitude. You start thinking like, oh gosh, I mean, it just happens that I have like a malfunctioning light or something. Why do I have to be fined for it on top of that? But in Colorado, they are fixing this issue by handing out gift cards to people with this issue. So the police department there in Denver partnered with an advanced auto parts shop, and the advanced auto parts shop gave 100 gift cards worth $25 each to the police department to distribute to people who would normally get ticketed for broken headlights and so on. So the chief of the Denver Police Department, Chief Paul Pazin, said that his officers are having great experiences handing out the gift cards versus tickets to anybody they pull over. And that not only is this a great way for building motor compliance with the public, but also it strengthens the relationship between the police department and the community. So if there are more ways to develop good incentives for getting a problem fixed, like your headlights or whatever it may be, responding with positive enforcement versus negative naturally builds and strengthens relationships, as this police chief is saying. So if there are more ways that we can apply this concept in other realms of society or our lives, that would be a lot better, wouldn't it? I mean, personally, if I think I would like this a lot. Or for all of you drivers out there, if you want something like this to happen, message your local police department. Or if you, I guess for me with like my parents, I guess if they want me to do my chores, well then maybe pay me to do my chores. I don't know. But that sort of positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement is a simple concept, but an easy one to apply and can make everyone's life so much easier and promote greater long-lasting relationships for the future. So anyway, that was a nice little story from Colorado. And then the second one that I have is from 96-year-old Olga Murray, who has dedicated her life for the past 30 years to helping Nepalese children. So 30 years ago, when she ended her legal career and retired, she went to Nepal on a whim, just because. And she said that the minute she landed, she fell in love with the country, and by the warmth of the children and how much they were so interested in her and learning more about where she came from. And through interacting with the children, she realized that most of them didn't go to school at the time. So from this short visit, she made a determination that she was going to educate these children and support them. And since then, since 30 years ago, it has been her job and her vision to support them. And through this new vision, she developed the Nepal Youth Foundation, which has since created 72 hospitals and helped educate more than 50,000 kids. And she's 96 years old, going strong, and plans on doing this till the day she's gone. And I just thought this was an incredibly inspiring story in terms of how one person can really change an entire nation almost, educating the next generation of youth from Nepal and making sure that they have the tools that they need to rise up and not just support themselves, but also become independent and great leaders for their nation to help their nation develop and evolve and get the help that they need from everyone else and to have a seat at the global international table. So yeah, I hope these stories inspire you to, yeah, again, have hope and keep doing what you're doing, remembering that every good action that you have has a positive influence on someone, and that, yeah, every action you create has a ripple effect too, not just like with, like with this woman, Olga Murray, who again is raising up an entirely new generation in Nepal with her Nepal Youth Foundation, but also with like these police officers from Colorado who are rebuilding their relationship with their community, which probably has since been affected by everything being said in the media about police officers. So yeah, there is good in this world, is what I'm telling you every week. There's good in this world, and you can be the good too. You can be the change too. And the change that you create doesn't have to be that big either. So yeah, thank you.
Dude, that is such a cool story. I mean, her age just makes it even more interesting. You know, just
Yes.
like she's like the Mother
It's
Teresa.
the concept.
Right. It's like you can be your own Mother Teresa. You know, just it's all about the children. You know, just I was just reading the article now. These kids, when she met them, they just want to go to school. You know, like something we take for granted over here in the U.S. Just like, oh yeah, you gotta go to school. But in most countries, that's like an amazing privilege to have.
Mm-hmm.
And just with school, you have access to the world and to do so much. And I'm just, when I think of these kids in these other countries getting education, I think there's so much good that they can do for the world. Because and I think we should see them as not just a charity case, but like with good education, they can probably solve these world problems we're just scratching our head about now. I firmly believe that. And the first story, I'm not sure if you can extrapolate that story to paying your kids to do their chores, but
I think so. But it's okay. We'll agree to disagree.
Growing up, I would get paid 1 cent for every dandelion I uprooted in the backyard. So I can't say anything. But all I can say is one time I got pulled over for a tail light being out, and it was like a 2-hour drive, and I had to go to the bathroom like the whole time. And I'm just looking at this cop like, please, like don't like I'm trying to pee my pants. And he's just like, what? That's why you pulled me over? Okay, whatever. I tell you, if I got a gift card, I'd probably feel a little bit better about it. And we have our police going through all their sensitivity training, but imagine having that plus a way to show empathy and show care, for people. So I think it's a great creative way to include empathy in what we do, because that's at the end of the day, if people can trust one another, care about each other, we can work out our differences and figure things out most of the time as people. Absolutely. As humans, right, Ricky? Just human to human. Oh, Ricky, you want to add anything? Or?
No, I just want to add, like, it's really great. The police are out there giving these gift cards to people with the broken headlights. But I think the real heroes are Advanced Auto Parts for getting those gift cards to the police. Because man, I love you guys. Advanced Auto Parts. I went there once. They're great.
This is not a promo. It's just love.
Right. We were not. This is not a paid advertisement at all.
Absolutely not.
That's
But yeah,
cool though.
I'm also
Yeah,
like
sure.
hearing, I'm hearing like Naria in my head saying, "You can't just hand out free stuff and expect. Where does that money come from? I mean, how does that all thing work?"
Oh, that's so true.
It's not a solution. It's not a solution necessarily. I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, it's a step. It's a thought that counts really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But people do that all the time. It could be a discount. It doesn't have to be like. But gift card sounds a lot better though. It's like yeah, it's a gift card. It's
Give us a
cash.
good gift card. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like Ricky, when you're 96 years old, what are you going to be doing?
Geez.
You're going to be in
I
the
don't know.
fall and creating a foundation and helping kids go to school, right?
I don't know. I don't. No, the thing is, like, when I saw that, I was like, man, that must be nice. Just like get up one day and be like, yo, let's go to Nepal. I don't know if I have that kind of money at 96. Maybe I'll maybe I'll go down to Mexico. They're closer.
Mexico's good. Yeah, no, that's right. Mexico's good too. How about Iris? What are you going to be doing? 96 years old.
Oh God. I hope I'm still moving, physically mobile at that point. I want to have a lot of grandkids to like educate. I think that'd be really cool. And I think I want to have a nice community of people around me. Yeah, be like a sort of center for my whatever community I'm in, and be a place that's always open to the public, and yeah, just a place where people need like rest or fellowship or some sort of just like communal togetherness and safety. Be like a nice safe haven for the folks around me. Yeah, because I think growing up I would have liked that a lot, to have a community like that to be in. And so I want to create that for people in the future. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be as selfless as this woman, like traveling to an entirely different continent. But I don't need to change the world, but at least change the world of one person. So hopefully I'll have done that by that time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I can see it. And no doubt you'll get there.
Thanks.
Go ahead, ask me.
What do you want to be doing when you're 96, Milhan?
By the time I'm 96, I'm going to be massively wealthy. I'm going to have an island that's not underwater, that I'll have to, do my work. And I'll have all these foundations and, there's going to be world peace and all that jazz. And then, so I'm just going to like have massive amounts of fun and stuff to do on my island. And I'm thinking of like having like a Pokemon world, like there's literally Pokemon, right? Ricky, you're welcome to come, and like you can catch them and stuff and battle them. But like the whole island would be like that's like the law of the land. That's what you do here.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I don't think I could live on your island.
You can visit, yeah. Maybe not live. Not everyone can live there. I can understand. It's but for those who get it, they can live.
I'll send my Mexican students to your island for vacation.
Yeah, you can send them over.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Imagine like 96-year-old Milhan catching Pokemon, like just with his like cane.
No, I'll be a professor, and then all the kids, I'll give them their starter Pokemon. They can go out with. Yeah. I don't have to be catching. I mean, at that age, I don't need to be catching them. I just need to be raising up more kids. Yeah. Just to be clear about that. All right, let's go into our Hyojin talk. I'm excited to get to it because I had a bit of a transformation the last few days. Ricky already knows. I already told him about it. Basically, I was watching a message from someone I deeply respect. And he said something about being able to serve. You can experience joy simply by serving. And it's like, yeah, I serve all the time. I'm always giving myself, but I don't know, for some reason, I didn't see giving or serving other people as inherently giving me joy. That actually giving is receiving, giving is joy, giving is experiencing love, just in and of itself. And so I felt like this word, this phrase came to mind, which is, I can never be defeated. I can always get myself out of a defeated attitude if I can serve. I can serve, my family, my neighbors, my boss, the people who follow me, just always being a person to serve. And so a couple of quotes came to mind, which I'd like to pull up here. All right, share. Oh, thank you. Good. Okay. Oh, I should put the other one first, if you can, Ricky. This one. Okay. So when I was in kind of a depressed state, that's when I was able to discover this truth. So I like what Dr. King says about this. He says, only in the darkness can you see the stars. It's only when you're like in a dark time or in a depressed time can you really appreciate the power of service and how that can really turn things around. And then in the next quote is more specifically about service. Okay. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And that just sums it up perfectly. So thank you, Dr. King. Thank you so much for leaving such a wonderful legacy behind so we can continue to make this world just a little bit better each time we remember you and your words. So any feedback, or did that help at all? I don't know.
I can definitely relate to that. I feel for me, whenever I'm in like the same sort of like depression or standstill in my life, it really helps a lot for me to think about all the things that I'm grateful for. And when I think about those things, like what are those events or experiences in my life that I'm grateful for, they're often acts of service that others have done for me. I can be grateful for the fact that like I'm alive and physically well, and that like I don't have to worry about any of the things that I need to survive, like having a home and shelter, food and clothing and whatnot. But those are like the baseline things to be grateful for. But I find more like power and inspiration and comfort when I think about the things that other people have done for me in terms of like supporting me whenever I'm in like these depressed states. So like friends reaching out to me, getting a funny letter from a friend, or my mom doing her best to support me even though she might not understand what I'm going through. And so those kinds of acts of service that have been done for me, I really take to heart a lot more. Those are like the stars that I see in my times of darkness, so that when I'm in a place when I can give and I am strong enough to think beyond myself, then I remember like, oh, maybe I can be that act of service for someone else now. Really, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Ricky, final word?
Yeah, final word. To touch
No pressure.
on the second quote you shared, that really stood out to me because I think often, myself included, we tend to be our own obstacles. And I think when, Dr. King speaks about anybody can be great, I feel like, he's really talking about like not being our own obstacles and allowing ourselves to like, believe in our capabilities, believe in what we can offer to the world. And it starts with something as small as serving, or something as great as serving.
Right. It's like, I love how you said you don't have to have a degree. You don't even have to know how to put a sentence together. You can serve. You can do something. And every story we put up there is like the same thing. If someone who has, a disability can serve, someone that's 96 years old can serve, that's just it. You can have a life filled with purpose, meaning, and happiness, simply because if you got these, or even if you don't have these, you can still serve. So be grateful, do something.
Yeah, and it will come back to you too. I like that part that you said about how giving means also receiving for yourself. Yeah, there's always a give and take.
Exactly. If you feel like if you feel you're lacking something, we'll give it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the only guarantee you have that you'll get something. Because you can control what you give, but you can't always control what you receive. So,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to close out. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you next week. Take care.
All right.
Next week.